one thing that we have the luxury here in Baltimore is we got the radio thing. And then so when you go to Michigan, we had to signal everything. And so that's a challenge that we had to do, because if you're pairing all these fronts in the direction of the front, the pressure and the coverage together, I mean, you could possibly get into like a West Coast type of offensive call where it sounds like a daggone paragraph, so that's hard to signal in. So we tried to get it down to one or two words. So there's a couple things that we do, to try to make that streamlined, especially when we went to Michigan. The first thing is we just want a stock way to run a pressure. It's just a one-word call. All right. And that's pretty common throughout systems. But as you want to start to add sauce to what you do and to kind of make it like kind of sweeter, per se, is we want to add some sauce to it, but we don't want to add a lot of verbiage. So the first thing we start to do is we'll just pair this pressure and the coverage aspect. So every pressure is understood with a certain coverage, rather than spinning different coverages that are applied to certain pressures. So for example, if I just called like a nickel, if I just said the word nail, that means it's nail fire zone, and we're not playing any sort of other coverage behind it. And then that way you can eliminate that word. Then the third thing we can do is the second signal that's in there will be the first signal is the front, and the second signal is the pressure that includes the coverage. Now the front, that's that'll be a loaded term. So we actually denote certain types of fronts in our system that mean, hey, this is a third down front, guys. All right, this is some sauce going on. We're trying to populate the line of scrimmage to add people and try to add confusion to offensive lines of protections. And that's all we got to do is just say, the word wide or load or rush. And that'll click into the fellows that, hey, we're adding some people at the line here to try to make it more confusing on the offense. And then the last one is
I want to jump in real quick. Is there any way to move? I think you did, where it said like you're sharing your screen or whatever off the screen, because it's I don't know if it's for everybody on my end. It's obscuring. There you go. Yeah, because it was obscuring. There was a big gray bar at the top. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. And then the last way to kind of dress it up, and this is the last section, is how do you incorporate disguises within what you're doing? So you want to keep the picture moving on the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. And so we would actually layer that with an extra disguise signal, however you want to communicate that with the guys on the field. So if anybody has any questions on how to do that, I got ideas for you guys, but
I have a question. Could you talk about more about that?
Well, so the disguising or the signaling is a dang art in college now, because there's so much sign stealing and all this. So whatever your system is, I would include that in how you get that signal to the guys. So you can be as creative as you want. It could be something that people weren't expecting on the sideline. It could be a manager, the guy that stands right next to you, and you can give him the signal as well. And then guys in the back end, they're the only ones that have to look at it and worry about that signal. Where the guys up front, they don't care what disguise you're doing in the back end. So